Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining this special APN webinar with three of the organizers of the Israeli protest turned resistance movement in opposition to the new government's anti-democratic policies and in support of democracy and the rule of law in Israel. I'm Ori Nir with Americans for Peace Now. I want to wish everyone a happy Valentine's Day. Today's Valentine's Day. If we talk about love in this webinar today, it will be mostly our guests and mine webinar for a democratic Israel that fulfills the founding vision as expressed in Israel's Declaration of Independence. Before we start, as you you're probably familiar with it, our housekeeping comments. This webinar is recorded, both audio and video. The video will be posted on APN's YouTube channel, probably sometime later today. And the audio also later today will become an episode on our podcast, Peacecast. On Saturday, this past Saturday, I joined dozens of other Israeli Americans in a demonstration in support of Israeli democracy here in Washington, D.C. Similar protest events were taking place in numerous towns in the United States and Europe in solidarity with the most robust, bold protest movement in the history of Israeli society. It's a movement which, as our guests will probably, talk about it and depict it, is turning into a sort of a resistance movement. Some call it an insurrection even, or some go as far as calling it a civil war, an actual civil war in Israel. This movement is so powerful and so energetic that it kind of snowballs so rapidly that yesterday's terminology to refer to it is no longer relevant or becomes outdated today. So a bit about our guests. We have Limor Moyal. She's a pivotal organizer of the protest in Israel, joining us from Israel. Neri Life-Choma, who's joining us from Silicon Valley, and also from Silicon Valley is Offir Gutelzon. And they are among the leaders of the global effort to support the movement in North America and Europe. Quick few words about each one of them. Limor is a writer, doctoral student, and liberal activist. She's the founder of a movement in Israel called Democratim, whose goal is to change the political discourse in Israel. Neri is a member of the Israeli American community in Silicon Valley. She is an entrepreneur and international leader in birth support. She told me that she's one of the founders of the doula profession in Israel. And she's among the founders of a movement called UnXeptable, which is a grassroots movement of Israeli expats for democratic Israel. Offir Gutelzon is a co-founder of that same movement. He's also a member of the Israeli-American community in Palo Alto, Silicon Valley. Serial entrepreneur. In 2020, as I mentioned, he helped launch UnXeptable. I read a little bit about his business and tech endeavors, and it's quite impressive. So thank you all three very much for joining us today. I'd like to start with a kind of we're approaching Passover with a Passover question, Ma nishtana. How is this movement different from past protests movement in Israel? In what way is it different, and why is it different? Both related questions. And maybe Limor, we'll start with us. Tell us a bit about the nature of the movement in Israel. How does it work? Is there a coordination between the components of the movement? How it is done? Take us into the movement and talk a little bit about the workings of the movement.
Okay, so first, thank you for joining us, and I'm honored to talk tonight, afternoon. Basically, it's not new. The movement is not new because we started this protest with the Netanyahu court problems a few years ago, and then it came to the Balfour event, in which we protest over a year, every Saturday in Balfour, which was very difficult for all of us because it's basically full year going back to Jerusalem every night and Saturday and trying to break the government that he established with the Gantz. It was a Corona time. Some of us rented houses around Balfour just to be able to continue the protest while we had Corona here. And we succeeded. This year, we had, I think, about 20 organizations, one of which was my organization, Democratim, and we had to find a way to work together, which is very, very difficult because each and every organization has its own goals, dreams, aspirations, guidelines, political views. We are different. Some of us are more radical, some of us more lefties, some of us more about the occupation, some of us more in the center. So it was very difficult to find a baseline that will gather us all together on one goal. And finally, we decided to go with Lech, which is go away, basically. And we decided that this is the goal, and we will not leave this place until he will leave this house. We knew that it doesn't matter how long it takes, we will stay there. And I think one of the things that happens in this year is that we become a huge force working together. We learn how to work together and how to become a force that in just, few clicks on WhatsApp, we can say to all of our people, go to this place, go to this place today. And after the collapse of Netanyahu's government with Gantz, and the new government came to life with Bennett and Lapid, and we knew that it's not going to be stable for long. We knew it's just a matter of time that this government, which was very heterogenic, will collapse. And so we decided that we will keep all the system that we built, all the mechanism of working together, all the groups active. And it was like a dilemma because we felt like we already won and we got what we wanted, but on the same time, we knew that it's only temporary and the real fight, the real collision will occur at some point in the future. So all the groups were still alive and working and, like on quiet state. And then when the new government came to be, the new Netanyahu government become what it is, we all just came together, built back force, wake up everybody, come, get ready. The day that they swore the government, we're already we're ready to start because we knew that this, toxic cocktail of fascist, religious people and corrupt people, it's going to blow. We knew that, and we knew that what they want to do to the justice system in Israel. It was just a matter of time, and we started to work on building this bigger movement. Because if Balfour was just about Bibi, now we fight about something different. We made it like dictatorship against democracy. So if you support this government, you support a dictator. And if you support us, you support democracy. And it was very effective because every Israeli actually think of himself as a Democrat because we were born Democrats. We don't know how not to be Democrats. This is a democratic country. So everyone feels and believes that he is a Democrat. And we show them, the other side, that they are not really Democrats if they let one person, control all three establishments. Yes, exactly.
Limor, just as a follow-up, real quick, is there a leader to the movement, or is there some kind of a committee? I saw some people referring to something called Mate HaMaavak, like the headquarters of the struggle. How does it work?
Mate HaMaavak is not a collaboration of all the organization. It's not a body of its. It doesn't make any decisions. We made the decisions, like the organization made the decisions. He's just, giving us the back if we need things or money, the connection between some organization and also new organizations that comes to the protest, like, for example, doctors. They built a group of 2,000 doctors. They want to join. They don't know how to get to me or to someone else. So they connect to the Mate, to the headquarters, and they make the connections. And it's working fantastic. But still, we are the ones, the organization, the organic organization from Balfour and some of the new ones as well. We're the ones that making the decisions. We're the one that build the strategy. We decide where to go, how to make the protest work, et cetera, et cetera.
Good, thanks. Neri and Offir, before I get to you, two quick comments. One is that I said that I was going to give the two housekeeping comments, and one of them I forgot, which is that our participants are welcome to ask questions, and to do that, please use the Q&A tool, not the raise hand tool, but the Q&A tool. And then the other comment is, Limor referred to the Balfour movement. The Balfour movement, it's called Balfour because the prime minister's residence in Jerusalem is on Balfour Street. And so the movement, the protest movement against the prime minister got that kind of, that name, named after the street. Neri and Offir, you decide how you want to answer this question, but I wanted to ask you both about why it is so important that Israeli expats around the world are participating, and also if you can comment about what is new from your perspective in this movement this time around.
Neri, go ahead.
Thank you. Well, I believe that in terms of how we're communicating with all the organizations, it's just the same. We have Facebook Messenger and WhatsApp and Zooms, and there is no meaning to a geographic location anymore. And I can, just like Limor was describing it, because I'm a doula, I'm always on call. So in the middle of the night or daytime, I can see a pop-up on my Facebook Messenger of someone in Copenhagen saying we would like to organize the protest. And immediately we open to them a Facebook page and event, and they're in, and we are inviting them to join the WhatsApp group. So in this term, we're just, doing the same thing we did before. There is nothing new. Why is it important? You know what? I think that the protesters around the world today are actually the face of the beautiful Israel. I think that it's so important that the world will know that the people of Israel are democratic by nature and will do everything to protect the democracy. And right now we're the disciples, showing this is the beautiful Israel. These are the beautiful people of Israel that will not stop to do anything, we're not stopping at anything to protect our democracy. It's so important that the world will know it nowadays.
Yeah, just a couple of more things. I think one other thing that is a little bit different. I want to make two comments. One is think about Mate HaMaavak or the movement as something very similar to what's happening in the US called Indivisible. Right? There is a lot of leftist or people care about different type of missions, but when Trump was rising to power, they figured out they have to work together, right? And they again, it was a grassroots movement starting from two people who just posted a manifest and helped explain other people how to organize and how to go work. So again, Mate HaMaavak is very similar, and also in retrospective, I think that UnXeptable started in a very similar way. The other comment is that I think that this time, differently from other, we definitely feel like there is a good way, or there is a good reason for Jewish Americans to join. And one of the things that we've done together with the help with first of all, we had new core members, if you want to call them, who joined, who are kind of like coming from who was working more closely with Jewish American organizations. And one of them helped us build a website, because not everyone is on Facebook or WhatsApp, right? When you want to reach out to Jewish Americans, it's not obvious that everyone will come. And the other thing is that we learned and we operated in a way that is kind of like creating for a call to action and not just protest. And one of them is a letter that we kind of like published immediately after the government was, after we started to see the coalition agreement and the intention of the new government. So I think the current version of the organization is focused a lot about action more than just protest, and figuring out how to move the needle and get the Jewish American team joining us.
Yeah, and I want to say that we also, I think, are putting a lot of more focus on continuity, like sending out a newsletter with everything that happened. Like yesterday was a very big day in Israel. It was very clear at night that we have to sit down, write a newsletter describing what's going on, immediately putting up all the photos and the videos of what happened in Israel yesterday. So the continuity and the persistence, so that, you know, no one can just go with their day as if nothing is happening.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Good. I wanted to ask you a question that I was asked when Americans for Peace Now organized demonstrations here in Washington. We did two of them, one in early January and then earlier this month in front of the Israeli embassy. And that was, what's the goal? What are you trying to achieve? Is it to just block the current legislation initiative that has to do with legal reform, as they call it, or is it something broader than that? If let's say that Simcha Rotman and Yariv Levin decided tomorrow to, shelf their initiative, would that bring an end to the movement, or does it have other demands, other goals?
We probably have different answers.
Yes.
To this question, right? Because Limor is in Israel.
Yeah,
Yes.
maybe you start, Limor.
Yes.
Okay, so even in Israel, there will be 1,000 answers for these questions, and we cannot find one answer that we can, even most of us can agree upon. So all I can give is my personal view. And my personal view that the core problem is Netanyahu. Okay, of course, it's a wider problem. We have the demographic problem that is not going away, and we have to think how to work around this problem. And the Arab people of Israel are not voting, and it's just getting worse and worse. So it's makes the left even weaker. So this is major problems. But for now, the core problem is Netanyahu, because he is corrupted, because he is in court, and because he is going to jail. If Israel will stay Democrat, he's going to jail, and he knows this. And this is why we're in this, tornado for over, I think, 3 years now, or 3.5 years, all because of him. He makes this country all about him. We have election after election. It's hell to live here. It's hell. I'm trying to, work on my research, just live my life peacefully. And for the last 3 years, I'm just in the streets. I'm working full-time job on the Twitter, to try to fight the news channels that becoming more and more in his pocket, speaking his language, and we try to fight it with our own, accounts in Twitter and Facebook. So it's like you're fighting with tanks when you only have like sticks and stones. This is how we feel in Israel nowadays. It's very clear that we're going towards fascism. All the signs are here. So most of us, the people in the this struggle for years now are just fighting all the time, and it's hell to live here, and it's difficult. And so if you ask me what's the goal, the goal is to get rid of him, really, seriously, just go, leave us alone. So it's not about the reform, because the reform, if he fails to bring the reform off, or if the high court will, block him from making this reform become real, he will find another way to destroy our life. And also, they have more goals, not just the reform. For example, they want to make the Arab Israelis, to make them not legitimate, so they will not vote. So when they don't vote, it's like the right will always win the election. So this is another goal we have to fight. So there is always something. So for me, I will not stop. It doesn't matter how many years it will take. Yes, I will not stop until this man is out of the equation. And we can establish from the beginning, the left, because the left in Israel is not really functioning at the moment. And I can tell you that personally, it's very difficult days. It's like living when you don't have the safety of your house. It's like the walls of the house is about to collapse on you. We can't sleep at night. It's that bad. And my children, my eldest and second boy, they study abroad. One is a doctoral, a medical student, and the other economics. And I told them, you don't come here until I tell you it's safe to come here. This bad, seriously. And this is our home. We don't have another home. So it's scary and it's hard. And I'm trying to just make you feel, just so you understand how bad it is here now.
Yeah, Neri, Offir, do you want to comment on the goals of the movement?
Yes, I don't know what's going to happen in the future, but I can tell you that as of now and of what happened in 2020, our protests are in solidarity with our brothers and sisters in Israel. We are not having any different agenda. We're not coming up with agenda. Like, I think that everyone in our movement, expats Israelis, was dismayed and alarmed when Netanyahu got elected again. But you didn't see us on the street. We didn't protest. What we're doing is only in solidarity with our brothers and sisters in Israel right now. I don't know what's going to happen in the future. It's a good question. Offir, do you have an idea?
I don't know. I mean, like, we never really thought about it. I mean, like, we definitely feel like it's a good basis for organizing. I don't know, you can call it the liberal Israeli expats, or whatever you want to call it, and be a bridge to the Jewish American community. But again, I mean, like, it's really a grassroots, and there is no funding, there is no structure, there is nothing else, right? But I think that one of the things that we did and we will try and keep doing is I would say importing or exporting the campaign system, the fundraising, elections, terminology is so developed in the US, obviously, because we have election here every 2 years, and we are electing for almost anything around us. And I mean, one of our goal is to kind of like help in any way we can, bringing technologies, bringing systems, right, to build and help building the alternative in the future, and not just in protest, but also in elections, right? And we did some of it as a go forward, because what Limor said about again, I mean, like, I'm just trying to translate it into local, as far as I understand it, is like, when you're saying that there are people in the government who are trying to do the judicial reform so they can exclude other from voting, right? It's called gerrymandering here, right? It's the way of like trying to figure out how the minority can keep running the country, even though the majority is actually thinking different.
Exactly.
Right? So again, we know from here that you can use democratic tools, right, to still have minority running the country. I mean, we saw it here with popular votes comparing to electoral college or other ways. So I mean, in our perspective, I mean, like, it's a way to bridge, it's a way to support, and yeah, that's it.
Limor, just a quick clarification question. You spoke earlier about the feeling of lack of personal safety, that you are afraid for your own. You said something about the wall not being able to protect you, and so what do you mean by that?
I can give you a few personal examples. First of all my assets are here in Israel. And when you don't have a strong court, you are not protected. So also your, like assets are not protected. They can basically tell you that now they have new tax that you have to pay, or if you have more than one apartment which you rent, now you have to pay a tax because you are basically a little bit richer, so you have to pay more money. Second, we're talking about things like one of my sons is gay. I'm afraid that if they will they are starting to talk about gay rights and to suppress gay discourse in schools, which was very normal here. In every school they talk about gay rights and how to be gay and how to accept gay people. And now they're forbidding this discourse to even get close to schools. So there is religious wave that wash the country, and it's bad. It's really bad. So I think liberals, when you're a true liberal, and someone threatens your freedom, you become his enemy, true enemy. I mean, I will fight in every way I can for my freedom and for my safety of my family and my assets and everything I work for. And this is something we all feel that is under attack. Everything that we believe is under attack. And also they're gaslighting us, they're gaslighting us. We are not Jews. For them, we are not Jews. We forgot how to be Jewish because we are secular. So if you're secular, you are not Jewish. Stuff like that. And they call us traitors, even though we are the ones that are going to the army and serve the country, and they are not. It's crazy. It's like we are the bad guys in the picture. And I send my children to the army, I serve in the army. I'm paying thousands of dollars every year for taxes here in Israel. Why am I the bad guy? It's just getting worse and worse and worse. So now it's just got crazy because they have this coalition that gives them strength. So this is what I'm talking, nothing is safe now. Yeah. Nothing is safe.
I would like to give another example that I just used in the recent protest. In Israel in 1998, when I founded the whole field of birth support, doulas were not allowed in hospitals. The medical system said no. And we were thrown out of labor and delivery. And we fought it in court. So sorry about this. Where will we fight it now? If there is no judicial system that protects us, where am I going to fight for women's rights to give birth with a doula by their side who is supporting them? This is so basic. So we don't have to talk about minorities like gays, we can talk about the consensus of giving birth, being supported. This is something we had to fight in court. Where are we going to fight for this now?
Yeah.
I want to add about the safety. Limor was saying it in a very emotional way, but physical safety, right? When you are coming, for years now, and probably as a peace movement, you probably know it. Anyone who said anything different, right, than what the government that was run by Bibi for the last 12 or 14 years, I don't even know, was defined as a traitor, right? As someone who goes outside, washes the laundry outside, etc., etc. And the definition was getting further and further. So you have like people from the right, considerably from the right, like Lieberman or Saar or Bennett, right, or other religious people who are now also defined as traitors. So the Niemöller poet, right, where it's like they keep coming, and at the end there is not going to be anyone for you. So
and also it's a parallel word for left. I mean, left and a traitor become the same. Everyone that doesn't agree with the government become a Smolani, which is like saying bad person, traitor, not nice.
And by the way, they try to use the Smolani also in the English way, which is small, right?
Yes, yes.
So small in Hebrew is left, and they try to do it as small, like trying to.
Yes.
Anyway, yes. But the point is that, I mean, when you look on the playbook of how fascism is, how democracy turned to fascist countries, you just go through this. I mean, the playbook is there.
Pages, yes, one by one.
And on top of that, I mean, like, you also see how the heroes of the government, like, is becoming Viktor Orban, right? Which we all know what he did for Hungary, and therefore and later from Poland. So the point is that and we, by the way, we've seen this rhetoric also happening here when Trump was trying to get elected, and then when he was elected. So it's a playbook, and that's why it's not safe. It's not safe. I mean, again, policy is about, and more policy is about taxes, and I mean, like, that's part of left and right. You can be pro-tax or against tax to the rich people, but as long as you have the core to protect from when it's reasonable. So let's say you don't just protect anyone who is high income, not necessarily those who are from the left or those who are rich just from one side, or because you have a red hair. So that's where the court is basically becoming the basis. And this is why I think the focus is on the court right now. The protest, the movement, the resistance is protecting the court, because if that's court fall, then basically everything collapses, and the power, people will keep trying to grab more and more power. And I would add on that, I mean, and this is again connecting to the Jewish American in general, or Jewry of the world. I mean, the state of Israel was defined as the house for the Jewish people, right? On top of, and that's why it needs to stay Jewish and democratic, because again, I mean, like, when we're talking about Kera Ba'am, it's not just the people of Israel. Kera is like a divisiveness, or I don't know what.
A rift within the people. Yeah.
A rift within the people. It's not just within Israel. It's the rift with the people around us, and the way that people will be. I mean, birthrights, right? Like, think about birthright is on the table right now. Right? It's actually in discussion about how to change the law. That birthright, return of law of return is actually going on. It's going to be on the table. So there is a lot of basic thing that we fought for many years, and you are also the audience as Jewish American Jews. That again, it's on the table if court is going away.
I think that it's bring us back to the first question that you asked Ori, about how is this protest different? Well, it's not about a policy, and it's not about cultural norms. It's actually about the relationships between the government and the people. What we have right now is a disruption in those very delicate relationship between government and the people of Israel. And so we first have to redefine this, and then we can take care of a lot of other unresolved conflicts and situations that we have in Israel.
So I want to ask you, I'm going to start taking questions from the Q&A. People are posting quite a few questions, and people are, encouraged to continue doing that. There is this approach, which I've heard quite a lot in recent months, which says, basically, you are sore losers, okay? The majority has voted for a coalition of conservative nationalists and conservative Orthodox and ultra-Orthodox parties. These parties reflect the new face of Israeli society. This is the new Israel, and its representatives in the Knesset were elected legitimately. So learn to live with it. What do you say to that?
I can take that first. I mean, if it's okay. I mean, like, I think that it's going back to the basis of understanding what democracy is. The rule of law is part. I mean, like, the separation of branches, the idea that the majority, I mean, that there is basis for human rights, there is other stuff that is part of democracy. So, I mean, I'm the first to say that, I mean, like, there is a full right, ultra right, whatever you want to call it, that wants to take and check their policies. Yes, we can probably, we in me and Neri will probably not go and protest in solidarity on changing the policy of tax in Israel because the right wants to actually increase tax or reduce tax, right? I mean, but we are talking about the basis of the, I mean, the idea that you cannot, if those laws are passed, it's going to be similar to what happened in Hungary, Poland, and going back to 1933, democracies will collapse, which means the next election might not be as free as you think of. Again, we have election in Russia, we have election in many, Turkey, Iran, right? This is not going to happen in Israel, that we are going to be only an election country, right? So it's the majority won, right? And the majority could try and implement their policy, but not turning back on the courts and not doing it. And if and when they're doing it, they have to do it not with the prime minister who is indicted with 3 crimes. I mean, you can do, I mean, there is a discussion about reforms, okay, but not right now when this person is in power and he is keep inciting, I think it's already inciting against the court system every day, right?
Offir is very gentle. I'm going to say it in a different way. I'm just going to say that I think that the results in the elections, and the fact that the majority voted for the government of Benjamin Netanyahu, that doesn't mean that the face of the country or that Israel has changed. That was a democratic elections, and we respect it. But to say that the judicial reforms are representing the way in which Israel was changed throughout the years, that's a lie. This is only representing the fact that we have indicted prime minister and some members of the government that are trying to escape jail. Period. That's it. These reforms are about nothing else. They are not representing the change of Israel, and the beautiful people of Israel are democratic and will not agree to that.
I want to add to what both of you said, which is of course true, that when we, on the last election, we had so many, it's confusing, but in the last election, whenever we asked, when they went to TV, all the ministers and parliament members of Likud, and, they were asked about what are you going to do with the judicial system, and all the time they said, we just want to make it better. It's not going to be dramatic, it's not going to be fast, and some of them even just say, we were not going to talk about it. This is not the main issue. The main issue is keep, security in the Negev and stuff like that. I mean, they just ignore this issue altogether in the campaign. So it's a lie to claim now that the Israeli voter was pro this reform, because nobody knew that there will be this kind of reform. Nobody knew. They hide it, they truly hide it. And this is one thing. Second thing is, nobody denies that they won. I mean, we don't claim that they are not allowed to rule. We claim they are not allowed to change the game, to change the rules in the middle of the game. Because what they're trying to do here with this reform, which we called Aficha, like Q. This is
regime coup.
Yes, exactly. This is what it is. So it's not ruling. Nobody say don't, rule and do your own policies and stuff. We just say don't touch the courts. Don't touch the courts. This is ours. Everybody is not just you. And something else that they're trying to say all the time, and it's crazy. Like Netanyahu is sitting in the parliament and saying that democracy is the power of the majority, which is a lie. Democracy is the power of the people, all the people, including the minorities. It's true that the majority vote decides who will rule, but the one that rules needs to be the government of everybody. And this government is acting like there are the government only of the majority. We are not existing. We are, everybody that did not vote or support this government is unimportant. It's crazy, really.
It's interesting. I mean, I heard Rabbi Amichai Lau last week on his, he was speaking on the protest, on the solidarity protest in New York. And I wasn't actually thinking about it, but he said like that the Hebrew word for demokratia is shalom, from the word shalem, right? And it's like you need to actually include everyone, right?
Yes.
In the democracy, it's not just the rule of the majority. It has to be.
Yeah, it's not. It's actually a Greek word that says the people power, not the majority power. This is the literal meaning of the word in Greek.
I don't understand why we're even going to the definition. There are democracies on earth and they have very clear system, structures. There is a separation of power. We don't need to even go to the very beginning of the definition what democracy is. It's about what democracy looks like and how it behaves and how it moves.
Yeah,
I'm just referring to this issue because he's trying to change the concept about trivial things with language. I mean, when he's sitting in TV and saying the democracy is the power of the majority, he's lying. And the people that vote for him believes him. And then you're going to the street and they feel like, you know, that they're kings of the world because they have the power, only them. And I have to serve them. I have to pay my taxes to support them. I have to send my children to the army to support them. But they are the kings. I mean, it's go down when he speaks like this. It's a poison machine all the time. We're fighting against the poison machine. It's crazy.
As you can imagine, given the nature of our organization and the nature of the people who are participating in this webinar, there are a lot of questions that have to do with the Palestinian issue and so on. So I'm going to choose two themes that reflect, again, many questions that have been asked. One is, in what way is the Arab minority in Israel, the Arab sector, participating in this movement? Is there an attempt to include the Arab citizens? That's one. And then the other has to do with whether the messaging of the movement includes reference to Palestinian rights, to Israeli-Palestinian peace. Is that a part of the messaging? And maybe I'll add one more question to that, is do you think that the energy that is being created, incredible energy, unprecedented, by this movement, could be harnessed in the future in some way to the peace agenda? So several questions there.
Okay, I'll start with the second question about if the themes of the kibush is in this movement.
Occupation.
So, yes, the occupations, yes. As of course, because all the movements that involve with the occupation or works against the occupation are part of the movement. They have place in the movement. Nobody think of them as something that is outside of the, of the norm. There was a problem with the flags, Palestinian flags in the beginning, when some of the more radical protests came with the Palestinian flag. And of course, this is a trigger in Israel because it was Ashraf flag before it became, Palestinian flag, the official flag. So for many people, it reminds the terror of Ashraf, and it's a problematic way to try to make people, be open to listen. So we asked the organization to take it down a little bit, just to, of course, bring all these messages about the occupation, because it's relevant. Of course, it's part of being a democracy. It's about, trying to include all minority and fix the problem of the occupation, which bothers all of us, the liberal side in Israel and all the left in Israel. So of course it's part of it, and we try to give it as much place as possible. But naturally, because we feel that our house and our children now are at risk, so we are more focused on the sentiment now is about us and about our future and about the future of Israel as a country. So it's not a dominant voice. It's there, but it's not dominant. And the first question that you ask is about the Arabs, if the participation of the Arabs. So unfortunately, we tried, but they have different view about democracy. They are more conservative, community, and they don't have mentality of protesting as a whole. So it's very difficult to bring them. And also I don't blame them because they feel like so outsiders of the Israel society. So I don't expect them to suddenly become part of us. We never made them feel like they are part of us. So why to start now? And I'm scared because it's just going to be even worse if they will not come to vote at all, because they don't feel like they're a part of the democratic game in Israel. Mm-hmm. And that is very unfortunate.
So I'm not there on the field, but I mean, like there are parts of, again, that are including like Omdim Beyachad, standing together, and so they do their protest in different places, not necessarily in the same place, like the main Kaplan or whatever it is. But it's hard. I mean, like the idea. But I think that I think that one of the things that the protest is doing is fighting for equality, and it's equality for all, right? Yes. It's not equality only for one part of minorities, right? And in general, that's the way I think that the movement is including the Israeli Arabs. I can tell you that even here, I mean, like we in Palo Alto, we have a group that is we are trying to work together with other Israeli Arabs who lives here, postdocs and others. And even for us here, it was hard to bring them right into our rallies, because again, we are trying the best we can to include, but I can say personally that it took me years to figure out that I was so segregated from Israeli Arabs growing in Israel, right? I mean, that it's really, really hard. And at the end, I mean, like, I will just add about two topics about the occupation and about, I mean, anyone who wants to be pro-peace needs to also be pro-Jewish and democratic state, right? And in order for that to exist, we need to fight now for democracy. When the house is burning, you're not trying to remodel the house. You're trying to first turn the fire down, and that's the focus. And just to be clear, I mean, people who are pro-peace are definitely among different areas of Israel, from left to right. They have different opinions of how to make peace. Right?
I'm going to refer to the third question that Ori asked, if we see the energy that is right now in Israel.
One more sentence.
Sorry. Yes.
And so the inclusion of everyone in Israel who are pro-democracy, I think it should reflect also back to the Jewish American society. I mean, team. I mean, like we always keep saying that this is an internal policy, and as Jewish Americans, we don't want to be part of it, because this is not about internal policy. This is about the basic values, right? I mean, and whoever is a pro-Israel means, I assume it means that they are pro-Jewish and democratic state, and therefore, if they are pro-Israel, they need to raise their voice because it's about values. And I'll let Neri talk about the energy.
Sorry for interrupting you in the middle. I was just wanting to say something about the third question that you asked, if we're going to see this energy translating into a big protest to end the occupation. I'm very pessimistic about it. I don't see it happening. I don't see the people of Israel protesting against the occupation. I can say that even among those who are protesting right now worldwide. I, for example, am a strong believer and fighter for ending the occupation. I'm being shushed a lot of times because the majority is not going to fight about this. And I understand that we are in a very, very critical place right now in our history, that we first, like Offir said, I agree with you, Offir, with every word. We first need to, the house is burning, the house is on fire. We first really have to rescue ourselves from what is going on in terms of the division of power and democracy. But unfortunately, I'm very pessimistic about seeing this energy also translating into protests to end the occupation. Yeah.
We have a little more than 5 minutes left, and 7. So I'll try to fit a couple of important questions that I think we have. One is again coming from the Q&A. Whether you see it's a young movement, obviously it just started. Do you see any impact yet? I mean, does it register with the government and with the public? Well, with the public, of course, it registers with the public. But with the government. Do you want to start, Limor?
First of all, it's not very new, as I said. It's just a continuous of something that started a few years ago, just getting bigger and bigger and bigger, because the problem is getting bigger and bigger. So it's not new. And of course, it has impact. I think that you saw Herzog coming and suggesting to start a negotiation. It's because they figure out that they cannot do it before the collapse of Israel economics. And there is talking about, not going to the army. Many people said, we are not coming to the army of the state. And doctors start a strike, and because in Israel, the left is the strong group. It's the most educated, the richest. The country is upon our shoulders. So the country cannot function if the left is on strike. And they saw it, just in a few weeks, everything is crazy here. The country is not functioning. So I think, of course, it has impact. And that's why we have to make it stronger and bigger. And we're not going to stop fighting, because, as I said before, for a liberal, if you threaten his freedom, he will not cease to fight. So this is why I'm very optimistic about the fact that the movement will continue and get stronger and stronger, because they are not going to, stop trying.
And I don't know, again, I see what I see from the outside, but to me, the idea that there is such a big, the resistance movement is not stopping, and it's not actually asking for, it's not asking for a compromise with the current people in power, because the current people in power cannot actually take actions. Therefore, it's keep pushing, right? Mm-hmm. The idea that more and more people are joining. That there is a rule of the 3.5% that they are saying, when 3.5% consistently going out on the streets. This is kind of like the scientific number, right? That shows that actually it will make an impact. And we saw it first time yesterday in Jerusalem, when probably over 300,000 people came out. And again, think about the 300,000 people it's huge in the size of 10 million in the country. If you take out kids and other minorities, it's a huge number. So the pressure is there, and it will end up really about the people. If the people will resist it, it will stop. There is no other way.
But it will take time.
It will take time. It will take time and a lot of resources. This is time and resources game.
Because
this is a resources game, and we need to remember that whoever is running the show behind the scene right now in Israel is billionaires that is supporting Kohelet, and people. I think the names are I read in the press. It's Jeffrey Yass and Arthur Denching, and and before that there was people who like Sheldon Adelson who built Israel Hayom, right? And there is a lot of money coming into this game from the right side, and the resources from the left was mostly going to peace, occupation. It wasn't actually to go and build the infrastructure. I mean, there is a lot of help with NIF and other organizations, but it was not going into the political game. It was going to the civil society support. I think it's right. It's the right word. So it's a long game, and it will take a lot of resources.
But I think that we already see a bigger impact. I think that the last time in 2020, what we saw is mostly protests. Right now, the calls are to bring the country to a halt, to stop collaborating, because it's not only about going to the streets and protesting. It's actually about not collaborating. As long as you let the country move forward as if nothing happened, people are paying taxes, people are going to work, people are going to the army. If every system and structure and institute will just keep collaborating, then you can protest, but everything will remain the same. But right now, what we see is a growing impact of people who understand they need to bring the country to a halt, to stop, not to collaborate. And that's the action that actually is going to, I believe, turn things over.
Just to say, yesterday we had 22% of the country on a strike that is not, it's like a personal strike. People just, took a day off with not getting paid, or switch day, of holiday for this day just to strike. And kids were not at schools, half of the kids weren't to school. So this is very, it's majoric.
Yes.
Step.
I believe
it's crazy. Never before I've seen it in Israel, this kind of measures.
Yes.
And by the way, if there is any way, if there is a lot of resources on the website of UnXeptable.org. If you want to support and help, it's there.
Okay, so UnXeptable.org, and you are actually leading me, Offir, to the question that I wanted to ask. We have maybe a minute left. What can American Jews or Americans in general who care about Israel and want to help, what can they do? Obviously, donating is a great, but not just donations. Beyond.
Yeah, no, it's not just donation. It's first of all, it's about joining. It's about, again, the cycle of news is very slow from Israel to the Washington Post, on the New York Times, and so on and so on. It might be a 2 days delay. So join us on UnXeptable.org, either on the Facebook page or Twitter, or on our website. We will try to move the news faster. That's one. And then you can take the news to your congregation, to your communities, right? Spread the word, because again, it's a matter of shared values, not shared interest right now. Right, and that's where it is. And it matters to the Jewry of the world. So just mostly be aware. Think about it as a pro-Israeli activity, not an internal politics, right? And spread the word. That's where you can mostly help. Again, you can talk to your congressman, you can talk to other people, but spread the word. And when you're, I saw yesterday. I was driving and I saw houses that has the Ukraine flag here, right, being raised. So I don't know if you want to raise the Israeli flag, but there is awareness. Right. It's about awareness. It's about the idea that it's not obvious for most people that democracy is actually in danger in Israel. It's just really hard to understand that when everything you know about Israel is that it's a democratic state. Right.
Yeah, but also specifically, we're Israeli expats, we're immigrants here. We have less connections, with, for example, media. American Jewry has many more connections with media. They can bring the media to the local rally, they can do so many things that we're out of resources to do.
Yes.
So just join us. Sorry, go ahead.
Limor, you get the last word.
You get the last word.
Okay. So first of all, we have a user on Twitter that we started, which is my organization called Democratim. We don't do things that needs money. So it's not about money. We just want to share with you what's happening on a daily basis. So this user is English user, and everything that happens every hour in Israel, every few hours in Israel, we just, it's like news push on this user. So if you want, maybe Neri can give you the link later, so you can follow us and get in the latest on the protest and what's happening in Israel. And second, if you have any way, we need pressure from basically from every country possible on the government, all kinds of pressure. This is very important because you need to break this from all directions. So if you can talk like with people in the government in your country, you're American, only American, yes. So your politicians help on this side of things, it will be great.
And I know that we said that Limor will have the last word, but I just said like it's actually this will be broadcast globally, probably on podcast and others. So there is a sister organization called Defending Israeli Democracy, DID, that we're working together with them. They're mostly around Europe, right? And we have also extension in Sydney, in Australia. So again, you can help wherever you are. There is a lot of places to go to rallies, and just follow us on the events or the other website and be with us. I mean, like it's about joining efforts.
Great. I want to thank you, all three of you, very much. I know how busy you are. I've had conversations with, particularly with Offir and with Offir's partners here in the DC area, and I know how incredibly time-consuming this is. So, wanted to thank you for taking the time to spend with us and talk about this. I wish you success. And we as APN will continue being involved in the movement. And if people want to get in touch with us, my contact information is on our website. You can go to peacenow.org and I will put you in touch with whoever you want to be in touch with. So again, Neri, Limor, Offir, thank you all for joining us. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And this concludes our webinar.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Okay, bye-bye.